This is Stories from the Top, B2B Sales Buzz with Baxavanis, and I am your host, Jennifer Baxavanis. Today's sales tip comes from not only a very dear friend of mine, but an amazing professional, Roberto Clausell. If you ask Roberto what he does, he will jump up and say, I love sales, but he is so much more than a salesperson. He is a magnetic personality that is fantastic at reaching out to people, challenging them, capacitating teams, and helping people make buying decisions and grow within themselves. His first sales career was a young boy selling pistachios in his schoolyard. Later on, moved into advertising sales on a global level, became an entrepreneur, sold a business in Latin America, and moved to the United States. In the United States, he is the commercial director for Gartner. There, Roberto has also strived. He has won the Winner's Circle Award, not only for himself a few times, but also has capacitated, empowered his team to where 80% of his team is also winning the same Winner's Circles Award. So please get ready for the sales tip from Roberto Clausell.
Roberto, it is so great to be in touch with you again. I think that we've known each other for almost over 20 years. I don't want to give away our ages in case those think that we're younger, but you and I met in a sales situation and both really exceeded in that company and have all along kept so much in touch about the things that we're doing, the sales that we're making, the impact that we're making. So please share with my audience, who is a group of salespeople as well as sales managers, about yourself and Gartner, being the commercial director in Gartner.
For sure, Jenna, thank you so much. It's great to be in your show. I've been in Gartner for now 8 years. I'm a commercial director for Gartner's HR practice in Latin America. And, in essence, Gartner is a $4 billion business. We're listed in the stock exchange. But what we do is basically provide insight and best practices for any business leader to try and overcome business challenges. And it's a lot of fun. I live in the Washington, D.C. area. And again, I hope to be able to share some insights with your audience today.
Fantastic. So as we know, in the last 2 years or year and a half, selling has changed dramatically. Buyers are buying differently. Salespeople are having to sell differently. Sales managers are having to manage their salespeople differently. Commercial directors are having to look at the market with completely different eyes. And all of those changes and all of those views are completely unprecedented. As knowing you for a long time, I know that you are a professional that likes to keep up with the times and come up with your own ways. So if you could please share with us some of the ways that you're looking at the market, some of the ways that our salespeople and sales managers can actually have this same view that you do in order to increase their sales performance.
For sure. And I agree with you. These are complex times. Sales has become very, very complicated. And what we lived about a year ago made it even more difficult. And one of the things that I've learned that has been huge in terms of outcome for me and my team is the fact that we've learned two very valuable lessons. The first one is that many of our prospects no longer sit in an office. We've all had to go and live and work remotely. And we work most probably at our home. We have kids at home, pets, just a lot of distraction. So you want to make sure that you are able to, whatever you do, reach out to your prospects in a very compelling way, where you have a very clear and articulated way of why now, and what is important for us to talk to. Because we are overwhelmed with messages, so you have to make sure you send the right message to that prospect to grab their attention. The second one is that many of us, including myself, and most probably many of your audience, we were used to face-to-face selling, one-to-one. And there's a beauty out of that for sure. But we had to adjust very quickly to selling in the remote world. And that brings a whole different level of complexity. It is a very different way on how you can interact with people. Maybe that relationship first and business last has basically been lost. It's first business, and then hopefully we will be able to develop some form of relationship. But I think we need to quickly adapt to this virtual world. There's some tips I've learned along the way that I'm happy to share with you. But I think those would be the two biggest things that I've learned from this complex moment, that is making sure you send the right messages with the right cadence and outreach to your prospects to gather their attention. And the second one is adapting to selling in the virtual world, because it's very different.
You know, I think that's really interesting about the outreach, because some people believe they are making a compelling message, but they're doing it from a very product point of view. And what I notice is that when I'm helping sales teams, is I help them look at their outreach to make sure it doesn't have so many words like my, ours, and have more words that are about yours and your problems, your challenges, your issues, and then many more yous instead of so many more I's. But I'm really interested to review the subject about this virtual selling, because I think a lot of my audience might be thinking, okay, I just need to make sure I turn on my camera and make sure my audio is okay, and make sure that, you know, you're not looking up my nose and looking at the bottom of my head. Are there more tips than that?
Yeah, so background and situational awareness, it's a big one that definitely you need to manage well. So setting the stage basically is an important one. The other one is you need to start with an icebreaker, right? Starting a conversation where, hey, how's the weather? That just is too old-fashioned. You need to really have a very compelling icebreaker. I think those first minute and a half of your virtual meeting are essential, and there has to be a purpose of why we're meeting. There has to be value, and there has to be an icebreaker, something about them, their company, something that you quickly learn through your research before you hop onto the call that is compelling, that will drive a great just icebreaker. And I think that is one of the things that I want to make sure everybody can learn from this, is that they need to have a better icebreaker than just talking about the weather or anything that happened in the news. Make it about them, something that is intriguing, that will spark the conversation and the interest from them, no? The other one is, we tend to always have some form of deck or presentation, and it's great to use that, right? Because people at the end remember what they see. But you need to combine that between sharing your screen and not sharing your screen to make it a very dynamic conversation with your prospects, no? I would suggest that one too. The other one that I think it's important is to make sure that you involve other people in the conversation. So everybody should be involved, right? Sometimes you have some people who are, you're focusing on power, the CEO, or focusing on chief marketing officer, because those might be your powerful prospects, but there are other people there in the conversation for a reason. And later on in the sales process, they might have veto to buy your product, and you want to make sure that at the beginning you are able to also make them participate, provoke dialogue, right? It's not just about me talking all the time. It's also having an opportunity to give that person who is part of the sales process from the prospect side to be also provoked to dialogue with you, And then after the meeting, just making sure that you can set a time that is adequate to follow up from that meeting, that you can actually maybe even send them a video. I tell that to my team after the meeting. Instead of sending a thank you email, send them a thank you video, something where you can continue the next day or next 2 days to do something innovative and different than just not sending an email. So those are some of the things I've learned.
And what do you think that you can do in order to provoke a dialogue of maybe someone who could be, obviously if they're on the meeting, as you said, they do have some sort of influence. How can you provoke that dialogue with one that might be a little bit more silent or might not be offering their dialogue so directly?
Yeah, so what I think it really starts with doing your research. So I always tell my team who is going to be in the meeting, right? And you could have some surprises where they are able to invite some last minute people to come to the meeting, but typically from the calendar invite who is going to be there, and everybody has an agenda. So most probably you will have 80 to 90% of the people who are going to be in the meeting invited to your calendar invite. Do the research. What is the background? Why are they in this conversation? And that way you can ask and say, Amanda, I want to ask you a question. I know that you lead this part of marketing. It is important for us to understand, how do you envision our solution as providing a better service for you when you think about this specific area on marketing, as an example. So I think it has to be more prescriptive. It's not just calling people out for the sake of calling them out, but showing that you've done the research, that you know their background, why it's important that they're in the conversation, and bringing them in at the right time.
Absolutely. It makes so much sense. Well, it sounds like you've given a lot of valuable tips all the way from outreach into, grabbing attention. I love the word compelling that you're using in every single step on the way. And then the growth within the sales meeting itself. Do you have any examples that you can share with us?
Yeah, so I'll share one that happened a couple of days ago, actually. As many of us, I guess we probably get some emails here and there, somebody trying to sell us something, right? And for some reason, I must be in some, outreach list for several vendors, and I get about 5 to 10 emails every day from different vendors trying to sell to me. And, the other day, for whatever reason, this person, Amanda, sent me an email. And it was just so bad that I was compelled to reach out to her. And I called her up, and she was surprised. She was shocked because she just sent me an email about 30 minutes ago. And I told her, I said, listen, I'm just curious. You sent me an email. Thank you so much for that. But the reason I'm calling you is because I actually am in sales. And I feel I want to share with you, as I'm in sales, an insight that I think has proven to be very successful for me and my team. And she was totally caught off guard, right? She was so surprised. She thought maybe this was a prank, but it wasn't. And I started telling her, why did you reach out to me? And she was able to tell me that actually she has a list of 500 contacts that was provided to her earlier this week. And they asked her, send this email to these 500 people, you'll probably get a meeting. Well, no surprise, she didn't get any meetings. And I started to tell her, first thing you need to do, Amanda, is just make sure that you can comb through that list and identify what are your best opportunities. Everybody has a different dollar sign to this opportunity, and make sure you can comb it and dedicate the time in identifying what are your must-win opportunities. The second thing is look at your email. You said it a minute ago. They were mentioning, my CEO asked me to reach out to you. Well, what's the CEO's name? It's all about you, your product, your features, nothing about me. They were trying to offer me a service that I have actually no power or decision making to purchase within Gartner. So I was just so surprised, such a waste of their time. And I also told her, you need to create better messaging, right? Create a strong, compelling message about me. Do the research, understand my company and why there would be a good fit for me to consider your solution to provide a solution to a challenge that I have, and just build a hypothesis and share that there. And how would you help me? And the how would you help me is very interesting, because I asked her, said, create a small video, a minute, 2 minutes, and just share the value of your solution or service. It doesn't have to be over architect or too much production into it. Actually, the more home looking you do it, the better, more natural it will look. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I try to do some projects here at home, here and there. And if you want to change a bathroom faucet, you buy it, and then you go to YouTube and you'll find somebody who installed that same faucet, who can teach you a lot in 30 minutes to build it, and you become smarter. Well, have that same idea about your features of your products and solutions and share it quickly, so it makes it a more dynamic way to interact with your prospects. And I'm sure you will get better results. So Amanda thanked me. And to my surprise, 3 days later, she sent me a small email telling me, thank you so much for these insights. And she was able to get more meetings by doing this. So she seemed to got value from that. And that's why I kind of wanted to share this kind of recent anecdote with you and your audience today.
And was that thank you by video?
No, it wasn't by video. I guess Amanda is still improving, right?
Still learning.
I probably need to send her a video to tell her there's a little bit more innovation you can do. But I think some people haven't transitioned yet, right? Some people, maybe they're sales managers, they're sales leaders, are just doing the same thing they've done for over 20 years. And, for some, it might still work, but I can tell you for many, many of them out there, it won't work. And you really have to start transforming and changing, because as you said, things are more complex, people are overwhelmed, and there's just too much noise. And you have to bring that into a melody that people will actually be compelled to go and say, hey, Jennifer, hey, Roberto, it makes sense for me to spend 30 minutes with you now.
Roberto, you are one of a kind.
Well, I think that those people who have been doing sales for 20 years have a passion for sales. And I know you have a passion for sales, and many of the people who are listening to us have a passion for sales. And what I always tell my team is that sales is something that is in constant evolution. You have to find better ways, smarter ways to reinvent yourself constantly because times are changing. So, and that's what I love about sales. It's not static. It's not a moment in time. You just do the same process over and over again. You can really think about reinventing the wheel.
Well, thank you for sharing all of your valuable insight with us. I can assure that my audience is going to be thrilled, as these subjects have not been covered before. So thank you so much, Roberto.
It's a pleasure. Good luck with everybody. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for joining us for this great interview with Roberto. If anything we spoke about resonated with you, please leave us a comment below and tell us your thoughts. Or if you just liked it, please give us a like.